You are listening to Redefining Rural, a podcast dedicated to celebrating, elevating, and changing the way we think about rural education in the state of Colorado and beyond. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media platform.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Redefining Rural. We're very excited to highlight the great work that's going on in the Santa Fe Trail BOCES on this episode. My partners in crime, unfortunately, are not here with me today. They are running all around the state, and so as many know, in rural Colorado, cell phones don't always work when you think they're going to work. So unfortunately, Michelle and Danielle are not with us, but I am really honored to have two wonderful educators from the Santa Fe Trail BOCES here to talk about the great work that they're doing around college and career readiness. For those who don't know, the Santa Fe Trail BOCES is in La Junta, and it's the 6 surrounding districts around in the southeast part of the state. And so I'm very excited for Lauren and Jen to talk to us all about the great work that they're doing down in the Santa Fe Trails BOCES. And so to kick it off, I'd love to have Jennifer and Lauren, if you guys would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what's going on in the Santa Fe Trail BOCES.
Great. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and I'm the Special Project Coordinator. This is my 7th year at Santa Fe Trail BOCES. This is actually my 6th year doing this type of work, and our 4th year in the Pathway to Prosperity project that helped us get the RISE grant.
My name is Lauren, and I am the Assistant Director at Santa Fe Trail BOCES. This is my first year in this role, but I've previously been a principal in one of the districts here with Santa Fe Trail BOCES and have experience working with Jennifer and Kirk through this process.
Great. So Jennifer, tell us a little bit about what is Pathways to Prosperity and how that fits into the RISE grant of the work that you guys have been doing.
All right. So our Pathway to Prosperity project really has 3 main focus areas. So the first is internship. We are focusing on exposing students to work opportunities in the Arkansas Valley. And one way we do that is to prepare them for internships, and then we place them in a local business or organization in the career pathway that they have chosen. The third part of our Pathway to Prosperity is in entrepreneurship. And so we're teaching students about entrepreneurship, what that means, because if there is not a career in our community that they're interested in, they could create their own career by being an entrepreneur. And actually in rural America, there are many entrepreneurs. They don't recognize themselves as such because they're just doing what their families have always done. And so we're teaching them about entrepreneurship and that they can do that in rural America and make a living doing that. And then the third part of that is of Pathway to Prosperity is what we call real world problem scenarios. And this is an opportunity for 5th to 12th graders to connect with businesses and business leaders in our community to learn real life problem solving skills to bring relevance to the classroom. And that's when we connect someone from the community with a teacher to learn a lesson, to bring relevance and interest to a lesson that the teacher is already teaching. And so those 3 parts together help us to achieve some of our ultimate goals, and that is to keep our young people here, for them to maybe go to college or trade school, go to the military, or go directly to the workplace. But we really want them to consider the Arkansas Valley as their permanent place of residence once they get their training. And then we also bring in succession planning with that, because a lot of our independent mom and pop shops eventually want to retire, and we would like to prepare our young people to take over those needed businesses in the area.
Great. So talk to me a little bit more about what real world problem solving looks like in the Santa Fe Trail BOCES.
Right. So, it looks different depending on the age of the students. Some of our our early ones, we did some work with the Colorado Department of Wildlife, and fifth graders learned about natural habitat of birds in the area. So they learned about where they live and how to recognize that and how to treat them with respect. And so that was, just kind of a simple lesson. We've also had a sixth grade class work with their local health department on HPV vaccinations, because in that area they get their first vaccination, but they don't come back for boosters. So why is that? So ask the students. They're the ones that aren't getting back in there. We've had eighth grade students do a downtown improvement project. So they learned about the downtown and why it's important for it to look attractive, to attract businesses. And that was with an economic foundation partner talking about that. And then we recently had this great, even amidst COVID, we had an 8th and 9th grade class partner with the city of Los Animas and economic development to design and start thinking about how they can improve their outdoor sports complex. So the students got to learn about utilities and why you have to consider existing structures. And they worked with the planner to look at what was already there. They got to brainstorm about what they would want there. And then they actually polled the community. What did the community want there? And then they also were tasked with coming up with a name for this outdoor complex. And then they presented their culminating project to the city council so that they could go forward in this planning. And so that was a really great, that's kind of like a textbook real world problem scenario, because they involved all those different city entities and different careers. And it really, they don't know there's water lines under the street, and they don't really consider electrical lines. So this really kind of expanded their thinking. We have a repeating sixth grade real world problem scenario with Lahana Intermediate School and Innovative Water Technologies, which is a water filtration company in Rocky Ford. And they filter water all over the world. They go in after disasters. They bring their portable solar operated water filtration systems. And so the sixth grade science teacher has groups of 3s and 4 sixth graders create real water filters out of household materials. And they teach that after a whole month of kind of like water system, how the water system works in the world, and how that is why that's important. They create their own water filters. Then they go to IWT and learn about what it looks like for a real water filter to happen. And then IWT actually tests the water from the students' water filtration systems. And as a result, they learn about different countries. They learn that not all students have clear, clean water to drink. And they learn that it's really important to have sources of clean water and how involved that is, because even after they put the water through their own little filtration systems, most of them would not drink the water that their filters produce. So that's a really, that's also another textbook real world problem scenario. And what that teacher tells us is that when the students are doing this project, their parents tell the teacher, I don't know what you're doing with the water filter things, but that's all my student is talking about. And so it's a great example of having students work together to communicate, to record data, and they have to be adaptable because they have to adjust what they're doing. And then they have to be responsible to keep track of all their materials and work together and do their recording. So those are just a few examples of some real world problem scenarios that we've done.
Very exciting. Those are cool experiences for kids. So Lauren, talk to us a little bit. I know, a lot of schools across the state do college career work, but they do it individually as their own district. And I think one of the things that makes this project unique is that it's 6 districts really coming together. So can you talk a little bit about the advantages that you see as a BOCES of bringing multiple districts together to work on a project?
Yeah, it's been really great. We have 6 different districts that come to a lot of different events. And so one of the main avenues we use is our counseling professional learning community, where we invite all of the counselors into a monthly meeting, and we discuss, hey, these are opportunities available for you and your students. And then we always bring in guest speakers, whether they're from the college, to give resources on, how do you get into a nursing degree, or how do you get into the agriculture program. But we've also brought in business partners and said, hey, we want kids to go straight from high school into this career, and it could be a career for them, and just providing a lot of different resources for the counselors in order to share those with the students. Because a lot of the time students don't realize the opportunity that's available in their hometown. And so, you always get the doctors, nurses, veterinarians, but you don't ever think about, hey, I'm going to go be a water technology, or I'm going to be in the different departments that are really they're not the first ones that come to mind. And so really opening those doors for our counselors in order to share that information with their students has been a really cool opportunity. And we've seen some really nice things come from that.
Yep, that's great. So I know as far as exposure, you guys just completed a exposure activity called Wheels to Work, and would love to hear more about the World's Wheels to Work event that you guys did.
So on October 6th, we did a Wheels to Work event, which is the community career exposure event for 7th and 8th graders. And so this event was in collaboration with the Workforce Center, and it was actually modeled after an event they do up in Brush. And Josh Gibbs up at that Workforce Center shared this on a webinar that our local workforce person, Cindy Polito, and I attended. And because of COVID, we were like, this is an outdoor event. I think we can do this. So we originally had planned it in May, but had to postpone till October. And actually, that was the perfect time to do it. So the idea was that you invited businesses in your community that used Wheels to Work to a venue to share their work with 7th and 8th graders. And so we planned 3 simultaneous events, one in Los Animas, and our Wiley school was invited to that, one in La Junta, and Shara chose to go to La Junta to that event, and then one in Rocky Ford, and Swink chose to attend the one in Rocky Ford. And so we started just knocking on doors and contacting our local businesses that use Wheels to Work to this event. And it was just in the morning. The students were there from 9 to 11. And the students were given a task. So they were given a passport, and in that passport, they had 3 sets of the same questions. They had to learn about 3 different businesses, what they did at that work, what kind of education those people had to have. I think there was another question, but I don't remember now what it was. But when they went to talk to that business person had to sign, stamp, put a sticker. Somehow the student had to get 3 stickers on their passport so that we knew they had at least talked to 3 people. So it was an exciting event. The city of Los Animas, the city of La Junta, and the city of Rocky Ford really got excited about this. We had the city manager from La Junta and the city manager from Rocky Ford open the day for the students and gave instruction. The deputy city clerk in Los Animas was very instrumental in that city. They don't have a city manager in Los Animas. And so the city clerk that position. And so it was just a free morning. The kids, once they were given the instructions, they were just let go, and they just got to talk to whoever they wanted. And it was a really great day. The weather was perfect. We had great community support. I think we had 36 different businesses between the 3 venues, but we had many more vehicles because many businesses brought more than one vehicle. And the wheels that the students really enjoyed were those that they had interaction with. So they got to get in the ambulance, they got to get in the search vehicle, they got to see the sewer, like the water plant that they had to wash off the concrete or whatever. they loved getting involved. They got put in a sheriff's car and see how that felt. They got put on a gurney so they could see what it felt like to be in the ambulance. And it was a great event. We just had a variety of wheels, and the businesses want to do it again, and they want more. And they actually would like to have older students, 11th and 12th graders attend, because they're looking, of course, at future workforce. So they're wondering where those older students were. But for our purpose this year, it really was to expose 7th and 8th grade students to work in their community. And we had great support, and the businesses want to make it an annual event. And so this will actually take place of what we've done in the past. We've done an advanced manufacturing tour for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. But because of COVID and the economic climate, this just wasn't a possibility the last 2 years. So we'll expose students to work through a Wheels to Work event as 7th and 8th graders, and then possibly entertain a different type of tour for 9th and 10th graders. So it was the first annual. We involved a lot of community businesses. A lot of community people helped plan it, and it was a success. I would say this has been one of our greatest successes so far.
Very cool. Well, it sounds like it was a great event and a great way to bring business, community, and multiple schools together to all collaborate. So that sounds wonderful. So as you guys look at your pathways to prosperity and the work that you're doing in Santa Fe Trails, what would you say is the biggest challenge in bringing districts together and then getting kids exposed to different pathways?
I think bringing districts together is a huge challenge in and of itself. Districts have built-in competitiveness. They have their own priorities. And so to build a community where we all have the same goal, and we're just going to attain it in different ways, is definitely a challenge. But I think that one that can easily be overcome with a little bit of work, and just showing that there's multiple ways to get to the same end result. And here are different paths to make that happen. And I think now more than ever, we've seen time is always a valuable resource. And so time is always something that will get backed up into. And so getting creative on how you can use events or things that are already taking place and tweaking them or adding to them in order to help provide some of those opportunities for students.
Mm-hmm.
Great. How about the flip side of that question? What do you think has been your greatest success through this process?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, Kirk, is that we are seeing different businesses having interns and outside of our program, which is perfectly fine. It's just the fact that the culture is realizing that the interns are valuable, and they're a valuable way to build future workforce. And we don't need to be in the center of it, but the fact that the community as a whole is starting to invite students in, that I think is a huge success for our work, because we are starting to shift that mindset that the businesses have to start investing in students before they're out of school, that those relationships are important. I think just kind of normalizing like the need, instead of 6 districts doing their own thing, that we're all starting to see that this is needed, this is important, that they can do it their own way, but we can get to the same end. Because as a BOCES, we're just the hub. Like we don't require all our districts to do it exactly the same. We offer the opportunity and we support them to participate as much as possible. And then it's interesting how it kind of takes its own shape. And that is probably one of our challenges also, Kirk, is respecting the districts as districts, but offering them support for the same thing. it's a little tricky. But somehow, under our leadership of Sandy Maliff and Lauren now working with us, we've been able to honor the district's needs, but still continue this work. And so it is a little tricky.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, the fact that you guys can do it, I definitely see as a success. I also think another success that I'd love to highlight is the fact that this work really set you guys up for being able to apply for the Governor's Rise Grant, which you all did receive, which was for those who don't know, this was a competitive grant across the state of Colorado for school systems to compete for some of the CARES Act money that the governor had, and that money is now, they were one of the winners of that. And so I guess a question I have for you two is, where do you see this going with these new resources and next steps for your Pathways to Prosperity?
Well, one of the reasons our BOCES was chosen is that we are starting to expose students to careers at a younger age, as early as 4th grade. So we started BITS coding with 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And mind you, this is all on volunteer. We present the opportunity to our districts. And if they have educators that want to participate, then we support them. And so we're starting to expose students to coding as early as 4th grade. And then we have opportunity in the high school to keep building on this coding, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, to see it as a viable career. So where is this going? Well, I just really feel like we're on the verge of connecting with community more. I think our community sees the value. I think the groundwork has been laid. Sometimes it's hard for a community to know exactly what to do. You talk to community businesses and like, well, we'd like to do something, but we don't know what to do. We don't know who to contact. We don't know how to get our foot in the door. And so real world problem scenarios are a great way to do that, because we're asking businesses and community leaders to come in and share what they already know. They're not having to come up with something clever or anything. They're just sharing what they do. And we recently were going to have some professional development on real world problem scenarios and some other options. But the real world problem scenario was the most registered development opportunity. And so for me, that shows that the teachers are hungry for some new relevance in the classroom. They want to bring something that the students can actually do with what they're learning. And so I think that's kind of like, we're kind of right on that verge of getting the students out and getting business people in so that they can actually use what they're learning in the classroom, even as early as 6th grade, 7th grade. We don't have to wait till they're 11th graders to start connecting them to real work.
Awesome. That's incredible. Lauren, anything else you'd like to add?
No, we're excited to continue this work. And so, when we're in the thick of it, sometimes it feels like it's slugging along, and then we have the opportunity to share what's happening here. And it's amazing the impact that has happened over these last few years. So we're excited to see where it takes us.
Awesome. Well, I definitely applaud you guys for all your work in your region. It's incredible work, and I know that there's lots of stories that have come with the impact that you guys have made. And so for our listeners, one thing that's exciting is that the Santa Fe Trail BOCES did create a video all about this exciting stuff to do. And so one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to show that right now, so stay tuned so that you can see their incredible video about the work they're doing. But before we start that, I'd like to thank Jennifer and Lauren for joining me on Redefining Rules, and once again, I applaud you all for your incredible work in the southeast part of Colorado. So thank you so much for all you do for our rural kids in Colorado.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. All right, now here comes their video.
My name is Elliot Zetis, Senior Manager of College and Career Readiness at Generation Schools Network. I work with Jennifer Nesselhuff and Santa Fe Trail BOCES to implement the Pathways to Prosperity program, which provides college and career readiness programming for 4th to 12th graders. in 6 different districts.
My name is Jennifer Nesselhuff. I'm the Special Project Coordinator for Santa Fe Trail BOCES. So Santa Fe Trail BOCES, we have 6 member districts: Wiley, Chiraw, Las Animas, La Junta, Swink, and Rocky Ford. What is the Pathway to Prosperity program? It involves internships and real-world problem scenarios, and it also honors entrepreneurship.
All high schoolers should do an internship just because it's like you get to see the real world and you get to make an impact on people and you get to see if this is the right job for you. And if not, you can always change and do a different internship. I knew it was the right career for me once I'd left the internship, and so that was definitely something I never thought I'd get out of some simple class or internship.
Because of the internship, I am, as far as I know, the youngest cop in Colorado at the age of 19. I honestly don't think I'd be where I am today. I don't think the chief would have trusted me doing what I'm doing today without first building that rapport that I did with him my 11th grade year up till now.
With that internship, when I went to Denver, nobody knew who I was. I was just a young kid with a big dream, and everybody said, oh, we don't want you here. But whenever I showed them my internship, it opened a lot of doors. Everybody was thinking, well, if you can do that at a young age, what can you do for me now?
Now I can explore the community and learn so much from the fact that it's not just Swink, it's not just Rocky Ford, it's not just La Junta, it's not just Otero, it's the community, it is the businesses that go past the city limits.
I think it's super important, especially for rural students, to get an idea of what they're going to in their future fields, and in a rural area it's really hard to find those outlets. And so any internship opportunity is an opportunity you should take.
If you want to be able to try to help local students who are gems, who we want to keep, or who we want to have more time to grow, if we want that, we have to offer the opportunity to be here to do it.
I think that the more exposure we can get students in the classroom in rural communities to real life experiences throughout their community lends itself to the Grow Your Own initiative. It really emphasizes that there are job and work opportunities throughout the community that they live in, and that they don't have to go somewhere else to be successful. They don't have to go somewhere else to find purpose in life.
If we only think that the jobs exist outside of our tiny towns, we are participating in the brain drain. That's what we used to call it.
We need to grow our own. We need to grow our own. And this is a great way of doing it. And what better way of doing it than to try to be a good role model to grow your own. That makes you a better person. Social capital is important for anyone. It's not about young people. It's about everyone. And that's the reality of social capital. Whenever you know people, you can make so much happen, because it works well together. And if you notice today, and I noticed this, every person in that room was smiling. That tells you how powerful internships are.
Everybody in a rural community is an entrepreneur. Your farmers and your ranchers are actually entrepreneurs from day one. If you have to solve a problem, you're an entrepreneur because the creative juices have to begin flowing.
I'm an entrepreneur now.
If we can help young people realize that they can be more creative, we could find that more of them find their way back here.
You can see the spark in their eye when they go, hey, this is cool, this is something we can do. I think that's my favorite part.
Businesses in the classroom in rural communities, the importance would be most of these kids think that they want out. They think they want to go somewhere else because they don't think there's anything here for them. They don't even realize some of the businesses that are around in the area. They don't know these opportunities are there. Or, sad to say, by the time you're 12 years old, a lot of them don't have any dreams anymore. They're already done. If you ask them what they want to be, they don't have a dream. And it's sad to see that shut off in a poverty area already at 12. So it kind of rejuvenates a little bit that there is something for them.
This gives students hope and the ability to look ahead and not just think about right now. They can look ahead and think about maybe some innovative ideas that they might have, or getting to know other adults besides those people in their home.